G'day everyone, I'm Smokescreen and welcome back to another video, and here we go with another FIA Nations Cup combination. We're at Monza in Group 4. Good thing about Group 4 here is that the car that happened to be my selected car for the manufacturer series was actually the second best car for this combination. The first best being the Bugatti Veyron, which of course is not available for use in Manufacturers Cup simply because Bugatti as a brand does not have a Group 3 counterpart. The McLaren 650S, however, is the best alternative. So, of course, Nations Cup is now run on a Saturday of the week, which means it is one of the days where I work late into the evening. Therefore, the only slot I can do is the 10 slot in the evening, which happens to be the last one. So essentially, it was a one-shot for me. We're going to go out for our qualifying. We tried to find ourselves a slipstream, but it kind of didn't really work. I've got the car up ahead, driven by Max Mayhem, who is in the Discord server that I'm in. So perhaps we can catch up and get a slipstream later in the lap. But we're going to go for that qualifying run, braking at the 150 meter board for turns 1 and 2, or technically turn 1 is what you're braking for. Turn 2 runs out of turn 1, creating the first chicane variante de Retifilo, or something, however it's said in Italian. Run through Curva Grande, turn 3, very easily flat out in these cars. Coming into the second chicane, braking just on the sort of dirt road after the 150 meter board, second gear. I just get that slightly wrong, a little bit too much weight transfer going on. The back of the car wanting to slide around a bit too much. Coming into the Lesmos after the 50 meter board, we actually get Lesmo 1, not too bad, a little bit of oversteer on the way in, but it's not to worry. Lesmo 2, just before the 50 meter board, fourth gear when you get it right, and get an okay run out of there. You can see we've caught up to Max Mayhem, so perhaps we could get a little bit of slipstream towards the end of the lap, but we're still out of it at this point. Coming down to Seraglio Straight, up towards Ascari, turns 8, 9 and 10, braking just on the dirt road before the 100 meter board, third gear, chuck it in, a little bit wide off turn 8, which means that it affects our momentum all the way through, flat out all the way from the acceleration point of turn 8, so that loss of momentum will run all the way down this straight towards Parabolica, turn 11. The final turn here at Monza, of course. We're going to come up to that now, so looking on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side, I suppose, for your braking boards. 100 meter board. We'll get a little bit wide through there, and we have to get a second stab of the brake. But we definitely have caught up to Max Mayhem, so we're going to be getting a quicker lap time than him, hopefully. Coming across the line, you can see they take that really weird cut line. I didn't want to risk a penalty. 157.2, which isn't actually that bad, puts us in provisional pole position. Going to go out for our second qualifying run. Of course, we do have time for a second qualifying run. You could potentially get even 2 laps on your second qualifying run. You can see we skip ahead. So this is in the flying lap here, coming into Lesmo 2. We run way too wide off the apex and then completely bin it into the inside wall. Not where you want to be. I didn't quite catch whether I was up or down on my time, but of course it's not ideal. Puts us in 4th position. But as always with the Nations Cup combinations, let's enjoy the beautiful introduction. Lovely as always, but you can see the start of the grid there. We finished up in 4th at the end of the qualifying session with 3 Bugattis on the podium positions. So it just goes to show, we've actually got another McLaren behind, but it goes to show that maybe the Bugatti is a quicker car over 1 lap, but I believe with the tyre wear factored in towards the end of the race, the Bugatti's going to drop off, but we'll see how that goes about. But of course, Monza, it's an absolute slipstream festival, but before we talk about that, we're going to focus on getting through the braking zone for turn 1, which is usually quite hairy. We brake a little bit too late actually and go for that dive down the inside of 3rd position. I definitely did not want to do that, because you can see on the exit, unfortunately it just slowed us both down out of the slipstream of the top 2, which is quite detrimental for a race for 1st position, as all races generally are. So that is not gone well, and that is completely on me, completely my fault. I've ruined pretty much the entire field's chance at getting 1st position, because the idea is to reduce time loss as much as possible at Monza, so you remain in the slipstream of the lead pack. Diego, re-overtakes me straight away and puts me at a very awkward line through the 2nd chicane, and we drop off even further. We have Praetorian behind, about 7 tenths behind at this point, and we get a poor run through Lesmo 1 actually, and he begins to gain through Lesmo 2. We get a nice power application through there, nice and progressive as we went on the apex there, so that's good for us. But Praetorian remains in the slipstream, and he's going to be slipstreaming me all the way down towards Ascari. As you can see behind, I can't quite make out what car he's driving, but he is definitely in the slipstream as we head into Ascari. As long as we can get a nice Ascari here, maybe we can pull away from Praetorian a little bit. We have done exactly that on the exit of Ascari, up to 8 tenths. Looking behind, I still can't make out the car, so we'll just go with a car. Definitely a Group 4 car, I can say that much. Coming towards Parabolica for the first time, so it's actually been quite an average opening lap. We're out of the slipstream of the top 3, which means that they're, as a 3, are going to be running faster around the circuit than myself, who doesn't have slipstream, as our 2nd and 3rd positions all have slipstream, or both have slipstream rather. Coming on the main straight, you can see Praetorian once again gets back into my slipstream as we get a poor run through Parabolica, and he's going to be in my slipstream heading up towards turn 1. I think he's actually driving a Bugatti, the distinctive grille poking out quite obviously to me. He catches up a lot of ground under braking, and we actually run in a little bit too deep. See, we get a very poor run out of that 2nd part of the chicane, and Praetorian actually gets himself a penalty, so that's going to be interesting. You can see we're going to skip ahead to Ascari. We've got ourselves into the slipstream of Bug Army here. I think he was the pole sitter, so he's obviously made a bit of a mistake somewhere. Still got Praetorian behind, served his penalty, and he's got himself another one on the exit of Ascari. So that's going to be that's absolutely detrimental to his race there. But thanks to being in the slipstream, better top speed of the Bugatti means he's able to get past, he's able to slip through the inside there, heading through Parabolica, but he's going to serve that penalty on the exit of Lesmo 2 of lap 3 here. So that's going to put us back into 4th position. Now we can talk about the strategy a little bit. Actually, we'll do that in a second. We'll see if we go for a move here at turn 1. You can see we're gaining quite quickly, or not that quick, and we actually do end up going for the move. I didn't want to. He turns in a little bit, I believe, and just pushes me further into the apex, and I end up getting a 1.5 second track limit penalty. I felt as though I didn't initially want to go for that move actually. You can see I lifted off the throttle just before the braking zone, but I don't know what happened. I think it started braking and then lifted off a little bit and continued braking. And the car, I don't know, just started going up the inside. But I felt like at the point we made contact, I was I was far enough alongside for him to warrant giving me space, but it didn't quite work out. Corey Hack, unfortunately, has got a massive spike of lag. He's way off the circuit. May have looked like he'd gone off, but he was keeping a lot of speed off circuit. Knocked out the braking boards for the 2nd chicane too, which doesn't help things. Especially, when you're doing braking, is typically what brake boards are good for. That's not going to be good there. Bit of a miscommunication there between myself and Rosmo, and I get myself another 1 second penalty after serving my initial 1.5 second penalty. So that tends to happen here at Monza, especially with the current penalty system. Penalties can often sort of cascade from one another as you end up getting yourself another penalty as you're getting back up to speed from serving a penalty. So I'm going to serve that here, dropping down. We're in 5th currently, keeping very far over on the right hand side, making it very clear that I'm going to stay on the right here, lose another 3 positions down into 8th. So the issue, actually make that 4. The issue before was that I looked behind to see Rosmo closing in and I was in his way, I think he was expecting me to keep my line. I was expecting him to want to take the racing line, so I tried to move out of the way, and unfortunately we just moved into each other's path. I think the job of the driver serving the penalty is to remain on their line. It's up to every other driver to work their way past. I think that's generally the best way to work things out, especially if you're coming to a very awkward coming together on circuit, which myself and Rosmo did there. But we served a penalty down in 9th. Our race is going very, very far down the toilet at this point here. It really started going down at the point where I lost the slipstream, or made the pack lose the slipstream of the top 2, I think it was. So heading up towards the first chicane for the 5th time, braking on the 150 metre board, of course. We can talk about strategy a little bit here as another McLaren goes off, comes back on circuit, he unghosts right in my face, but then he happens to unghost again. Make our way up into 8th position. Strategy for this race, very, very easy, no stop. Plenty of fuel and tyre wear is very low, so that makes it easy. It's an all-out sprint race for 11 laps, so it's about 20 minutes or so, maybe 25 minutes. On the exit of Ascari there, the McLaren that went off is in my slipstream there. Very good in a straight line, the McLaren is, especially given slipstream on a car that doesn't have slipstream. Makes his way very convincingly up the inside for Parabolica. That's going to give us slipstream down the main straight. So as long as myself and Kizar, KYZ_ZAA, can work together, we might catch the trio up ahead. You can see he goes all the way over along the pit wall, over the white line. Tarmac there is dirty. You can see the car kicks up a little bit of dust as it goes over that dirty part of the track. I didn't want to risk dirty tyres or a penalty, so I just kept it in track limits, braking. Into the first chicane, I'm up the inside once again, and it gets a little bit awkward. He gives me space, to be fair to him, but the curb trips me up. I wasn't quite able to keep momentum, therefore downforce through that corner, and the car just did a little bit of a bobble as we went over the curb, and the McLaren up ahead keeps position there. We're going to be gaining again as we're heading through Curva Grande. We look around the outside just to put him off a little bit. He keeps it very far to the inside. Thinking about going for the move, and I go up the inside here, under braking. He does sweep around the outside though. I didn't have the momentum to go up the inside. The second chicane is also a very awkward chicane in terms of overtaking, and I get a massive tank slapper moment as I was a little bit narrow for the chicane, and we lose heaps of momentum. Penalty being served by Rosmo up ahead. There was a little bit of carnage with Saray trying to dodge Rosmo as he served the penalty, and he ended up clattering into the wall on the first part of Saraglio straight, and he loses momentum all the way down said straight. Heading into Ascari, we might be able to pick up some slipstream on the exit here, thanks to that Lamborghini losing all of its momentum, and that has transpired here. We are in the slipstream of the Lamborghini, heading down towards Parabolica. We're beginning to make our way up through this race. We're, of course, losing time to the leaders, and have been throughout the whole race, about 12 seconds off at this point. Average of 2 seconds per lap, as we've done 6 laps. At the moment, average of 2 seconds per lap slower than the leader at this point, which is Diego. Very good showing from Diego up there, currently in the lead. Fairly big gaps on the minimap too, so that's a good showing from Diego. Bug Army makes his way back up into 2nd position as well, after falling down into 3rd in the early stages of the race. But in the slipstream with Saray braking a little bit earlier. We do have slipstream, so before the 150 metre board, quite significantly before, coming through the first chicane. Saray ran a little bit deep, and you can see we're much closer on the exit than we were on the entry, about 3/10 behind. He runs it to the outside for the entry for turn 3. You can do that to minimise tyre scrubbing, but it also maximises different distance rather, so it's a bit of a trade-off depending on what you want to do. We look around the outside on the exit rather, of turn 3, up the inside of the second chicane here. We managed to get that done. That's a fairly good overtake for the second chicane there. Fairly good. One of the better overtakes you could have asked for. No contact between us as he gave me space. I was up the inside before the braking zone. He kind of had to give me space, and that's exactly what he did, so fair play. But we're going to skip ahead to lap 10. The race has sort of began to come back to us. We're looking at 6th position here, and we're just going to try and fight to get into the slipstream of Chavez in the Bugatti there. Maybe if we can somehow get into the slipstream of the Bugatti through this second to last lap, maybe through the last lap, we could potentially get an overtake even into the last corner. So the race has kind of turned, you know, looking up here. Penalty being served up ahead by Wally69R. He's going to lose a lot of momentum, but I think he's too far in the distance for that to make any impact. It might actually give Chavez a slipstream, which could make our charge towards our 6th position a little bit more difficult. But we'll see how that goes. I would say Chavez is definitely in the slipstream at this point. So that's going to make my charge a bit interesting. But on the exit of Ascari there, look at that, 72 hundredths of a second, which is just inside slipstream. But thanks to Chavez having a slipstream and that advantageous acceleration of Bugatti, he's able to accelerate away from me before the slipstream effects can really take hold of my McLaren here. But we're just going to focus on turn 1. You may remember in the past I've struggled on my last lap braking into the first chicane here at Monza. I tend to lose concentration, especially with a track with a lot of flat out. So hopefully that doesn't happen here. We're going to be looking over on the left hand side as always for the braking boards. It's very important, this one. And oh, it's too late. We've done it again.
I am stupid.